Unlike customers of normal businesses, we don't have the power of the market to employ in influencing Northwestern policy. Instead, it seems we have to depend on the regulatory power of the Public Service Commission to steer the company towards the benefit of their customers. This body, the PSC, is greatly influenced by politics and doesn't seem to consider a wide and long-term view of what is truly in the interests of ratepayers. I hope that the Montana Consumer Council can push the PSC to take a more all-encompassing position in regards to their rulings on Northwestern Energy. The human-caused climate crisis that is already heavily impacting our state, our country, and the entire planet is well understood and accepted by anyone who is awake, aware, and not blinded by cynical propaganda-driven denialism. Eventually, and I expect and hope it will be soon, we will have to grapple with this enormous threat. Government policy at all levels will have to apply to the crisis, and companies that are not positioned to be a part of the solution will definitely be at risk. Northwestern Energy, being a provider of energy to much of our state, is intimately tied to these developments. Unfortunately, the company hasn't recognized the dangers and opportunities of this paradigm shift, or it doesn't seem like. Montana has some of the best wind potential in the country, and yet we are falling far behind other states in harnessing this clean, abundant energy resource. Northwestern rates wind capacity factor far below fossil fuel energy sources, but seems unwilling to invest in storage technologies that can boost the usefulness of not just wind, but solar energy as well. Despite the looming carbon-driven climate crisis, Northwestern seems more inclined to fall back on polluting fossil fuel energy in the form of gas-generating plants, and is apparent in their intention to operate their minority share of the Colstrip power station into the 2040s, far beyond nearly every other owner invested in the facility. Colstrip, which has been shut down for repairs for a large part of this summer, is a far more expensive energy source than any of the clean renewable energy that is so abundant in our state and whose price continues to decrease. This attachment to fossil fuels and reluctance to embrace the clean energy technologies that seem to be the future of energy in our society puts Northwestern customers at financial risk of even higher rates in the future. Polls have shown that Montanans want clean, renewable energy. Nobody that I know of wants to be a contributor to this crisis. But if you use electricity provided by Northwestern, then you definitely are a part of the problem. No choice in the matter. Northwestern Energy needs to listen to its customers and needs to take a realistic look at exactly where our planet stands with regard to old, polluting fossil fuel technology. Future regulatory actions and market forces make any fossil fuel-sourced energy a big financial risk for energy customers. Simple physics and climate chaos created by old energy paradigm put human society and most of the planet's natural ecosystems at existential risk. I feel Northwestern Energy should do the following. Hold public hearings throughout their service area regarding their 20-year procurement plan and the upcoming rate case. Reform their business model to prioritize ratepayers and sustainability over stockholder gains. Develop clean energy that can be sold across state lines to environmentally conscious buyers. Rapidly depreciate their Colstrip debt so they can shut down this old, expensive, and risky plant. Set aside funding for environmental cleanup and community transition at Colstrip. Additionally, I think the PSC should drop any political bias that prevents it from taking a wise and far-seeing role in protecting the financial and environmental well-being of Northwestern ratepayers, and should exert regulatory push on Northwestern to work in that direction sooner rather than later. And I hope the council can kind of push the PSC in that direction. And I thank you for your time and consideration of my thoughts. Thanks a lot.
My name is David Merrill. I'm a Northwestern Energy ratepayer from Missoula, and I'm also here representing the Sierra Club with members across our state. I'm very concerned about the situation at Colstrip. Colstrip is enormous liabilities that seem to be growing all the time concerning coal ash, pollution of groundwater, and the growing threat of carbon regulations. There's an initiative that would bring a carbon tax to Washington, the state of Washington, and current outlook looks that may actually pass. So this thing is moving very quickly. Also, the other owners are planning to get out, and that raises the risk of Northwestern being involved with a coal strip and the ratepayers when the other owners are out and the plant is inoperable. And that, frankly, is not fair in terms of intergenerational equity. So we hope that this council will support moving expeditiously, as the other Colstrip owners are, to prepare for the end of the life of Colstrip by 2027. We also want the community of Colstrip to be supported in the transition from fossil fuel-based economy to cleaner energy sources. And finally, in response to Representative Olson's questions about 100% renewable energy, already Scotland is on target to 100% renewable electricity by 2020. And if 2020 is not soon enough, the country of Costa Rica is already over 99% renewable electricity. And both of these countries have approximately 5 million people, which is about 5 times the size of Montana. So the question is not can it be done, is why aren't we doing it, and what would it take to actually do that here in Montana?
4 generations of my family were born and raised in eastern Montana. My grandparents were original homesteaders and farmers. I am a mother, grandmother, and registered nurse. As farmers in eastern Montana, we are very close to the land and understand the crucial necessity of having adequate amounts of clean water, clean air, and healthy soils, which are essential for our crops and livestock, thus allowing us to feed our country's citizens. We also need at least average rainfall and normal temperatures to provide food for this country and to sustain our agriculture business. In 2017, 1.2 million acres burned in Montana, costing $400 million, including $62 million from the state of Montana. The cost of fires caused severe deficits in our state budget, which caused drastic cuts in services to our most vulnerable in the state. Not only did forests burn, but rangeland burned, which cost ranchers and farmers millions in lost revenue and property. It is estimated it will cost approximately $15 million for ranchers to replace burned fences. That's just one small example. Many will never recover financially from fire and then subsequent flash drought. Montana lost $250 million in tourist revenue last fire season. We are now experiencing record droughts and very severe fires, even on our rangelands. The Montana Climate Assessment, which is being cooperatively done by scientists at Montana State University and U of M, has concluded that our temperatures have been steadily rising over the past several decades and are now 2 degrees warmer than they were in the 1970s. Scientists are very clear this is undeniably due to burning of fossil fuels. For our health, our livelihoods, and our ability to keep food on the tables of American families, we must drastically cut our fossil fuel emissions, not allow them to increase. We must stop mining coal and drilling for more shale oil, both of which not only emit carbon, but also gravely pollute our water and air. As the body of our state government, you, the Consumer Council members, are responsible for advocating what us citizens want. Do not put corporate polluter cronies' interests ahead of Montana families and our health. Montanans overwhelmingly want clean energy to protect our children, our health, our natural resources, and our climate. We cannot economically afford to continue to pay out in the aftermath of these extreme weather events that are becoming way too frequent. In 2017, 16 extreme weather events carried a price tag of over $1 billion each. Extreme weather was made worse by climate change, and cost the United States $306 billion in 2017, which was up from $306 billion in 2017, which was up from $215 billion in 2016. I'm an advanced practice nurse and I have asthma. The rapid reduction in carbon emissions is estimated to prevent 90,000 asthma attacks a year. It could prevent 4,500 premature deaths each year. The health benefits of clean energy, per the Trump administration's own findings, could save $54 billion in health costs, as well as preventing 300,000 missed work and school days by 2030. We do not have to choose between a healthy economy and a healthy environment. We can have both. Montana has abundant wind resources. The clean energy sector is rapidly expanding into rural areas, creating thousands of good-paying, homegrown jobs. We do not have to leave the coal miners behind. There are plenty of new job opportunities for them right in their own hometowns. We can and should help with job training and support of the coal miners, as coal mining is coming to a close. 9 lawsuits have been filed against fossil fuel companies by governments in California and New York City. Part of the suits claim the fossil fuel companies continue to sell products they know are harmful to our climate and are therefore liable for a percentage of damages caused by fossil fuel emissions, especially since alternatives are available. This type of litigation will undoubtedly, just like with the tobacco companies, continue. Obviously, wealthy people are not as impacted as lower income ratepayers and taxpayers like myself. While the Public Service Commission wants to ensure low rates for energy, the Public Service Commission is not taking into account our higher taxes and lost revenues from these climate catastrophes. These higher expenses must also be figured into costs passed on to ratepayers. As a person living on a small pension, I appreciate your concern for low energy rates. However, I will happily pay more for clean energy rather than suffer all the adverse effects of continuing to burn fossil fuels. Obviously, not building a gas-fired plant and quickly moving to renewables will mitigate these serious risks and consequences of ongoing fossil fuel emissions from Northwest Energy. And that's my conclusion. Thank you very much for accepting our